Podcast. If you're ready to grow, then let's go. This is the Lincoln County Podcast. Hey, yo, Matt, let's start the show.
Hey, I just want to say thank you to all the sponsors of the Lincoln County Podcast. Hozak Plumbing, Simply Worth, Medical Weight Loss, Town and Country Insurance, The Guild, and Boyer Academy. Thank you guys for your sponsorship, and thank you for making the Lincoln County Podcast possible. Just want to say thank you to everyone at Boyer Academy. Without the success of Boyer Academy and all the families there, I wouldn't have met all these wonderful people in and around Lincoln County that have came on the Lincoln County Podcast. So without you guys, none of this would really be possible. Having this has been a dream come true to sit down and talk to so many business owners and share my experiences at Boyer Academy, their experiences and successes with their business with everyone in and around our local area. Hey guys, welcome to Lincoln County Podcast. As always, like, support, follow, and check out all of our sponsors. Without them, this isn't possible. So I have a great guest today, and I'm really excited to sit down. As all you guys know, I love chatting with new people, finding out about new businesses, new things that are going on in and around our area. So we're going to kick this off today. I'm going to turn it over to her to introduce herself, and I hope you guys like and enjoy this, and thank you again for checking us out. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great.
Good. I'm Gina Lewis, and I am the owner and founder of Lewis & Oak Homes. So it's
Awesome.
just a small design firm that I organically started a few years ago, and it is growing. So I'm excited about it.
That's awesome. What inspired you to do that? Like, what in life inspired you to do the designing and to go out on your own like that?
Sure. Tell you the truth, I've always been an artist since I was a little kid. So I guess talent combined with organic startup. So during COVID, my husband and I we've been flipping houses on the side because we were actually in ministry. We worked with youth, for a long time. And until COVID, we would flip the homes and sell them, right? Awesome. We did it on the side. And then in 2019, we bought our first house that we turned into an Airbnb. So short-term rental. Uh-huh. Yeah, right in St. Charles County, right downtown by the river in Old Town St. Charles. So I literally just put that journey on Instagram.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Like, here's this little project I'm doing. Here's this little project. And crazy. Just started getting contacted by, hey, what do you think about this? Hey, what do you think about this kitchen? What do you think I should do here in this room? Whatever. And when that came in quantity, like more and more frequent, I was like, man, I should try to monetize this.
Yeah,
right?
smart. Yeah,
like,
that's smart.
It either sinks or swim. Like, I'll sink or swim. Like, it'll work or it won't. Like, it was kind of like combining my talent and my passion together. So, hey, it might work, right? And then from there, it's just scaled. It's not like I'm the biggest in the industry, but it's humbling every day to be like, wow, am I really doing this for a living full time? Yeah.
Well, and it's always cool too when you talk to people, and I feel like there's two types of people out there. There's the people that dream of doing something. Okay, I want to be this, and they work for it, and they train for it, and they learn the skill. And then you've got the others, like what you just said, that you were good at it. People kept reaching out, and you went, okay, maybe I should do something with this. And that's a really neat way to be because it's such a natural thing.
Right. It does feel very natural.
Yeah, and you're gonna see the design. It's not a forced thing. It's not something that you have to think about in that aspect. And I find that some people are that way with their business. So, you know, is it something you've just always kind of, hey, you know what, this should go here, this should go there?
Yes. People literally ask me, you have no schooling, like I have no formal training. Yeah. How do you know like how to do the consulting you do? Like, how do you know what it's going to look like at the end? Yeah. How do you know what to recommend? And it's literally like, it's just almost like a chamber in my brain that I kind of like, the creative space that I just know. Mm-hmm. I just know, and I have no idea how to describe it to you. And it's just there.
I get it because I'm that way with stuff. Yeah. So I completely get what you're saying. You know. And
I just
like
know.
You said, it's hard to put words to.
And this would look good, but this option would look 10% better. Mm-hmm. have no idea how to explain it.
I would find that with customers. One of the things always made my painting company grow is I have a natural eye for color,
Right.
and
That's
understanding
important. Yeah.
things. And I would talk to customers about it, and I couldn't even explain sometimes. I'm like,
Right.
I think maybe we'll go a little darker. Or
Right.
One time I painted a house for a lady and they'd moved the furniture. Well,
Right.
we got done, we vacuumed, we pushed everything back. And she had called the office and was like, tell him I love the setup. This is not how it was, but this really works. And I kind of had to laugh. I was like, I couldn't remember where any of her stuff went. So I
Yeah.
just put it back where I thought it should go. And because we wanted to
That's
clean
awesome.
up.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just know.
Yeah, that's right.
There's just things. And that
It's literally
helps.
something you're born with, I think.
Well,
I guess.
maybe it's something in your past that influenced it.
Sure.
Maybe it's, just something you found enjoyable. I've always noticed that with people. Like some people are, and you can even watch it. Like there's a YouTube channel, called Ammo New York, guy details cars.
Okay.
Larry just has a way. I like his channel. I don't like watching other detail shows. I like the way Larry does it. You
Yeah.
can tell that like it's just always been his thing. Like
Yeah,
he
that
probably
is true.
polished his Hot Wheels when he was a little kid. Like
Correct.
it's just his thing. And for some people that is, like you said, it's just a
Correct.
God-given gift that this is where I'm supposed to be.
Right. It's like you slide right into it with little effort, not to be mistaken with little work.
Yes, no, for sure.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So it's different. It does take a lot of grit, a ton of work, but it's almost like you slide right into it just easily.
Well, and with
Yeah.
what you're doing too, you're working with the customer, you're helping them put together designs, bringing their
Sure.
vision to life,
Right.
but with your influence of, hey,
Right.
do this, not that. But then also, do you handle some of because I've worked with them from the painter side before, where I'm also dealing with the design on getting their vision with colors and with different things, quality standards. Like, is that something
sure.
you deal with too, like GCing
Oh
projects
gosh,
with
all
them?
the time. Like I made a post yesterday on Instagram because it was actually supposed to be kind of comical, but it's like people think as a designer, all you do is shop and spend their money until they actually hire you. And they're like, oh, actually designers, GC, they literally keep all the crew in line. They keep them running smoothly. Any issues that arise, I got to find a solution for,
Yes.
if something's on back order or whatever, like whatever it may be, I'm finding a solution and keeping their project going on time.
Yes, and that's,
And in budget and making it look amazing. And then also, sometimes at the very beginning, you have let's explain and understand the difference in what beer is and what champagne is.
Mm-hmm.
And then then we'll make a conversation from there.
No, and that's very true too. And when you're dealing with the inside of someone's home, it's something I have to explain to employees all the time. We go into paint, like it's very personal. to them. And I
Very.
try to explain this to people. With me having a martial arts school and the painting company, when I talk to guys at the martial arts schools, they don't
Mm-hmm.
understand. But when you go in someone's house and you're there all week, like it's a very different,
Very. Yeah.
more emotional maybe.
Yes,
with
it's so
them.
funny
Yes.
because I was about to actually hit on that, and you went a little bit of a different direction with the last question. But I think what makes me also a good designer is not that I'm like semi-obsessed with it, like you said about the guy with the Hot Wheels. Like I'll literally go into any space, commercial especially, because commercial tends to show us the next trends without people realizing it, but they do. But like what makes me good at it, other than my semi-obsession with it, is that like I tend to be kind of heavy on the emotional side.
Yeah.
Like I got my yoga certification when I was pregnant with my 6-year-old. So just being like, the first question like I ask my client is, hey, how do you, like, when you walk into your space, how do you want this to make you feel?
Exactly. Yep.
Like, because as at the end of the day, this is your home. And a lot of people have their home offices in their home. This is obviously their kitchens, where around their island is where they do homework with their kids at the end of the night. Like, but especially that home office, because I'm just passionate about all those spaces, even a master bedroom. But like, you have that home office, since you're in there so much, it's literally driving you to like your potential. Yep. So if you're looking at like drab walls and it's like dark and the lighting's off and like the vibe's not right, you're not reaching. Oh, it affects you insane. Like it's very, I'm pretty passionate about it. I know that might sound silly, but
no, I don't think it
your
does
surroundings
at all.
is ridiculously important. It's input,
Especially
constant
with your
input
home.
in your eyes. Yeah.
It's extremely emotional
Yes.
for you. I redid my office and it's decorated in autographed martial arts gloves,
Right.
certificates.
Right.
It's
Right.
stuff, because when I go to sit down there and I'm working on stuff that's stressful, I could sit back and I look around and there's a newspaper article where I fought and donated all the money to youth charities, and
Right.
and it's like, I can do this. Like, it reminds you it's such an emotional thing. Or I'll have like little knick-knack things I put in certain spots because it's a reminder.
Correct. It's constant input into your like frontal lobe, really.
Yes.
And it's like, it's just like surrounding yourself with the right people. You know what I mean? It's the same.
Well, you can, and I don't think people realize it, but okay, say you eat trash all day long, you're going to feel like trash.
Right.
But people don't always understand that what you intake visually and audibly through your ears, like that affects it too. Like I'm very big
much
on how my surroundings look, how they feel. And with like if I'm having a bummed out day, I'll throw on a really good audiobook or a great podcast, and I'll be like, all right, now I'm ready.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. And there's a reason why Hobby Lobby, excuse that cuss word, but no, I'm just joking. There's a reason why Hobby Lobby has 100 signs in the door, little motivational plaques, because it's just information in. The more positive, the better, like in your surroundings. And anyway, it has a lot.
It makes a big difference, and for most people, they're spending so much time at their house. That what you do, you're not just placing things; you're creating an emotional experience.
I really am. A grounding experience, an emotional experience, one that like will propel them into like their full potential, like especially if their workspace is at home.
Yes.
Because
I think COVID enforced a lot of that. A lot of people work from home now, because I know it made my life easier bidding jobs because everybody's at home, which is freaking amazing for me, because I would only bid during the day, and that was a real struggle when building the company. But with their office space being at home, there are some people that 90% of their life is spent inside there. So
that's right.
That you gotta, what is it worth to them? Well, then they're bringing someone in like yourself that is so passionate about it.
Right. I think too, people are like, okay, for a couple years now, I've kind of done my work at my kitchen table. Or
done that.
Or a couple years now, like, okay, the office or whatever is neglected, and they're like, we need to revamp that. But even, I mean, I know I've talked heavily about the home office because that's a lot of my leads lately. But people are even just using their home to full potential, which is nice. Like used to, we were like, okay, we have this huge finished basement. What do we do with it? But I think it's cool to see like the trend going towards like speakeasies in their basement.
Yes,
like I'm getting several contacts for a speakeasy. I'm like, absolutely, let's do it. People are coming.
Speakeasies?
Everybody wants the hidden speakeasy. So, or just have that kind of like element to it, right? The mysterious, cool. Cool. It's cool.
I seen that for the first time the other day. I seen a video where the guy had a fake vault.
It's so cool.
Opened it up. It was a speakeasy, and I was like, what? I was like, oh, that's
so I want to talk about a project real quick. You can use this content or not, but gentleman out in Newtown. It was like one of the original homes out there that I think Whitaker built all those homes out there. Anyway, that lived in, but he is in the cigar business. So I'm super excited. I went downstairs, blank slate. They had a finished basement, just drywall up, right? And I'm like, what is in that cabinet over there? That looks like cigars. So he had like all these boxes, cedar, whatever. It looked like he was starting to tell me, like, show me like the humidor in there, and they have to have this certain humidity. And I'm like, dude, your speakeasy is going to be badass because I'm using all of that, and we are displaying all of those. So he's in the cigar business, has been for a while. Like it's not just a hobby. But it is a hobby, right?
Yes.
But anyway,
gives you a lot of inspiration to work with. That's really cool.
I know. So still in the proposal phases of that, but just what I'm saying is I feel like we're finally, after COVID has made its huge dent, I feel like we're finally starting to make that a priority again, to gather in our houses. Yes. And we're doing it in more creative ways. Yes. So the speakeasy being one of them, people are, the big kitchen island, people are like, oh, let's get back in our kitchens.
Love that.
Yeah, let's get back in the kitchens, like with our family. And so anyway, it's a good time.
No, it's great. And by you, like you said, everyth's so organic. Like you're down there, you're looking, you see the cigars. Like how many different things like that do you find inspiration from? I mean, it's got to be just nonstop.
Yes. I mean, when you're an artist and you are heavily always taking in information, I don't know if that makes me an artist or ADD, but
Yeah, both.
but like, right?
Yeah.
High five, actually.
Yeah, totally guilty on that one for sure. That I've ventured into it's both.
Okay, that makes me feel a lot better about myself. But anyway, okay, what was the original question? Oh,
About
where do
finding
I
inspiration.
where do I find inspiration? Yeah, man, it's everywhere because I'm constantly wanting to grow as an individual, as a professional.
Mm-hmm.
So if my eyes aren't open, literally and figuratively,
Yep.
I never want them to shut. You know what I'm saying?
So now, secondary question to that before we go any further into it. So, how do you manage the overwhelming amount of inspiration you probably get? And i.e. example like is, I'll be driving, something will pop on a podcast. I'll be like, that is a great idea, and I'm like,
Oh, man.
I have to pull over in a parking lot, or I'll send a voice note.
Yeah.
Or I'm always forgetting. I had a couple things pop up on the way here. I'm like, oh, I need to make sure I do this. Say this will help me with this, and it was something that a podcast said that.
Right.
Clicked it. Like, how
Right.
do you deal with that? Because you're looking. So mine is like working with the students at the school, or a way to, with speaking professionally, like a better way to phrase something. Like with you, it's sensory, it's pictures, it's art, it's thing. Like, how do you manage that? Because it's got to be like you said, it's your ADHD. Or
Yes.
it's got to be overwhelming.
With more visual prompts,
Yeah.
as silly as that sounds. So
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm old school, but like in my office, I just have one wall that I use to kind of essentially like collage pictures and things like that. However, I am super heavy on like you, like I love inspirational things.
Yes.
Like, so even on like my Instagram and whatever.
I'm covered in tattoos.
Yeah, this is not as like wordy as
Yeah.
yours, but holy moly. This is also whatever,
Yeah.
everybody's tattoo means something, but,
Yeah.
anyways, so yeah, just that I'll pull over like you say, or I do kind of sometimes
Yeah.
drive and do it at the
Yeah.
same time.
We're all guilty of it.
Just give myself like a little voice memo. Hey, here's one I want to post about next.
Yep.
Right. Cause I do drive, I get a little bit of windshield time and
Yep.
that's where I think,
Yeah, I had somebody
So-
one time, they're like, you should have a PA that rides with you. And I'm like, I like to talk to myself in the car. I really don't want a PA with
Yeah.
me. But there's times that my brain's really going.
Right.
That I'm like, crap, if I
Yeah.
had someone just to take notes right now,
Right.
that would be great.
You know
So,
what's crazy? I find my most creative time very early in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why.
can see
but
that.
Yeah, like
I can
a
see
lot
that.
of my writing, I'm a decent writer. I don't. That has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
Well,
Just
no, but
cut that out.
No, you're good. Everybody's got hobbies. Everybody's got other
Yeah,
things. you
right,
know?
right. I'm kidding about cutting it out. Use whatever you want.
Yeah.
But yeah, just in the morning, my brain's fresh. The kids are in bed.
Mm-hmm.
It's quiet. It's part of my like morning routine or
Your
whatever.
ritual.
So
Yeah.
mhm.
I think
Yep.
more people need those too. I've just spoke to my students about that in Deion Sanders and Coach Sanders' book. He talks about getting your temperature right in the morning and
Oh,
having
yeah.
your set stuff for the day, and that's something
Yeah.
like that is a big influence for me on how my day, like sometimes it can really I won't let it throw my day off, but it can start to throw my day off. But I
Right.
think with people like yourself, where inspiration sometimes will come in, you can't control how fast it's going to come in. So
Sure.
it's how to process it, how to deal with it, because you may have seen
How to
something at a
organize it.
client's house. I guarantee you've had this happen, and you're driving and you see something else, and all of a sudden, boom, two things pop together, and now it's like,
Right.
oh, I got this great idea.
Correct.
But you're on traffic on Highway 270 and you're stuck for 45 minutes. It's like, no, I'll lose this before I get
Right.
off. I'll lose this.
Right. And something I want to be better about is like, I have it in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know I can execute it. I
Yes.
know I have the sources, the resources, the team, all the things, but like, I would like to grow and how to like present that to my client, which, anyway, that's kind of a side piece, but
Yeah, no,
and
it's
that
all part of it.
requires a tremendous amount of trust, however it's presented, right?
Yeah.
They have to trust me first of all, but, yeah, organizing it, very important.
Hi, my name is Scott Lutz with Town & Country Insurance. We specialize in personal lines and business insurance. We're at 502 East Cherry Street here in Troy, Missouri. You can also find us online at tci.u.com. We would love to earn your business.
How do you deal with, and it's something that I found at one point with scaling the painting company, I had 3 people in the office. I hired full-time sales rep. It was the first time I ever ran ads.
Yeah.
I had built everything. We were doing 1.4 million a year off just word of mouth. I
Yeah.
never ran it. I actually didn't even have a Google listing, and I
Yeah.
didn't know it. We goofed, and the Google
I don't
lat
think
declined.
I do either.
And I
Oh.
didn't have one
Yeah.
because someone gave me a bad review on one of my other businesses for the painting, and I was like, "You dummy!" And I was going to send him the link to the right page.
Right.
To be a smartass, because the review was he wanted us to take out of our contract that we could sue him if he didn't pay. And I was like, why would I do that? You're
Okay.
telling me you're not going to pay me. No. So he wrote a bad review, failure to work with the client's needs or something.
Wow.
I was proud of it. I'm like, well, that's a really good way to twist that. But
Right.
I realized that I had to run ads. Well, then for the first time, I was going in cold with a client that did not already have like, oh, you painted for my aunt, my grandma, my cousin, my sister. So I had to learn how to build, I had to redo how I would speak on like building value in what we do because they had
Correct.
no clue. Whereas some
Right.
people I went to, they're
Right.
like, oh, what's up, Matt? Yeah, we're so glad Cindy's house looked great.
Right.
Blah, blah, blah. It was
Right.
super easy.
Right.
So how have you like learned to deal with that? Like as you get busier, you're going to get clients that will call you that they don't know.
Sure. That's a good question because I actually have never placed an ad either.
Yeah.
And so I'm at like that teetering point where I've been thinking about it a lot lately, and even like the podcast invites, like I was telling you, I've gotten reached out to before. You know, I look at their shorts and I'm like, ooh,
Yeah.
like I appreciate
That's
it, but
that's why I put my
I
message
appreciate-
not in my mom's basement.
well, no, just even that, like their content, like
Yeah.
I think I told you, like I'm good, like with a few cuss words, but man, like I'm also not a Harley driver or whatever.
The first podcast I ever went on was a guy local, super nice guy, reached out to me because I had a following in Troy.
Yeah.
And like, we did one, I don't even know where it's at or who he is, but like his second, like the second episode he did or third episode he did on his podcast was like, it was wildly
Yeah.
not
Right,
appropriate.
right.
And I was like, bro, you came to me because you said you're wanting to shift focus and talk to business owners. And then your next one was like, I don't even remember what it was. I just remember shaking my head. I'm like, he didn't listen to anything.
It just didn't.
But then I was upset because I'm like, I don't even fit what he's got. Like, why-
Right.
did I make a mistake going on there? Because now
Correct.
people are going to be like, all right, this dude's fucking weird.
That's
and
right.
You were like,
Right. I was like, he doesn't really fit my brand now. What makes me think he's going to help me build my brand?
yeah, and
he's
that's
not.
what
So,
it reached
or
out
her.
to me.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
So that was something I've looked for too. Like I've
Right.
done a couple that most of them have all turned out really good, but I've had a few that I was like, oh, this is just a Zoom video. This isn't really
Sure.
a podcast episode.
Okay.
You know,
Very
so I get what you're
yeah.
saying. That's why I put that on there, like not in my mom's basement, real studio.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That was an ADD moment. So, how have I shifted? So, right, most of my leads are organic leads.
Most
you know,
of yours are
referrals.
organic, and they're
Still,
referrals, so
yeah.
they're-
Or from me networking with somebody, and then that person gives me the lead. So maybe I have not done a design project for them, but they're vouching for my character and things like that.
Exactly.
So that's interesting that you are giving me foreshadowing that I'm going to have
It
to.
is something that I didn't expect because
Yeah.
I had dealt with, I've been painting for years, and so many people that were customers, like
Right.
maybe their child went to the Taekwondo school.
Sure. Right.
So there was like,
Right.
okay, you teach their kid, there's tons of trust there now.
Right.
So then talking to them about colors and different things was super easy. Whereas when I went
Right.
in cold on jobs, and so many people would just reach out off an ad and wouldn't even look the business up to where they didn't know anything.
Interesting.
To
Okay.
where then I was like, well, we have, 7 crews, whatever it was at
Yeah.
the time. And they were like, no, I didn't know that. And
Yeah.
it was a very odd little shift because you have to pitch them differently because my lead to booking rate dropped a lot because so many people would just click off the
Okay.
ad.
Interesting.
So it did shift
I
a
do
little
wonder.
bit.
Okay.
Yeah, it
I
did
do
shift.
wonder if that is what is going on because that's insightful. Yeah, because used to it was like very close family friends,
And
but-
they boom. Right
and
there.
they're
Yeah.
it's like it's in the bag, like right.
Yes. So you don't even. I
a
never
lot-
even had to worry about trying to sell a paint job
Yeah.
per se because it was basically just does the schedule work?
Right.
Am I somewhere in the pricing range they were thinking?
And
Because
at that point, they're really gathering estimates.
That's yes.
So it's a very different interaction. That makes sense.
It was very different. It was weird. So that's interesting. Yeah. So something to think of as it grows, because that was something that.
Well, what's
caught me
crazy is
off
it's
guard.
already happening, and so
Yes.
I'm like, then that is exactly what's happening.
Well, and you're getting a lot now. I've noticed too now. You get a lot of. I get a lot of tire kickers in both businesses because of where the economy is at.
That's
People
right.
are very.
Right.
Cautious.
Right.
People are very cautious. So I do get more tire kicking now, because I've had a lot of people reach out and they're like, you know
You're
what?
exactly
We
right.
liked you. We want to do the project, but we're actually going to wait till Q2 of next year. We're not going to jump yet. Because I follow up, so I get it.
But
I
don't
do
you
notice
think
more
being
of
in
that.
business long enough, you can figure out who's not your client pretty much right away? AKA the tire kicker.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, and that's something that a lot of coaches talk about, which is great. And I'm learning to do that with my martial arts school.
Yeah.
But like with the painting company, I would literally have people answer the door and I would just bounce.
Oh, right.
I would just go. I would be like, you know what, this isn't going to work. Because there was one recently that I had told my office. I said, we're not booking them. We're good. There's 10 bags of crazy going on in that house. I got a ton of bad vibes. And they reached back out like a year later, and we forgot, and we booked them, and ended up a nightmare of a job.
Okay. Wow.
Basically, the wife had been on the husband to do the paint job. The husband hadn't done it. The wife went ahead and booked us. So then at one point, the husband was like trying to scream and run my guys out of the house.
Wow.
And it was like a $1,500 living room paint job. It was the stupidest.
Wow.
It was so frustrating to even have to go over. I had to have the wife remove the husband from the house before we could finish.
Wow.
Because he was being
Wow.
verbally abusive.
Dude, you're
and
brave.
it was a little bitty BS job, so
Oh,
it was very frustrating. But as soon as I
think I would have bowed out.
Well, we were already 80% done, and I wanted paid.
Yeah,
and
sure.
when Chris called me, he was like, "Hey man, this dude's losing it. I don't know." I was like, "All right, I'll be right there." And as I pulled onto the street, I went, "Oh no, what it was." Oh, I know. The reason I told my office, I said, we're going to make sure we don't work for this guy. He was mowing and trimming the front yard. I got there 10 minutes early, and he ignored me on the front porch while he finished weed eating until it was exactly
so disrespectful.
9 a.m. and then turned around like, "Oh, I just saw you." And I was literally standing there
Rude.
like this. And I was like, okay,
Rude.
he's local. I live down this, a couple subdivisions over. I'm not going to be an ass. I'm just going to politely
That's
give
like
him the bid.
That's like
But it was
humanity. That's like
It was very ignorant. Like the urge to just be like, really, you didn't
Right.
see me stand like.
Right. And to this day, you're the reason they're divorced.
No,
is because you
they're-
painted their living room.
I hope they got out of there. I just when I went back over, she's like, "Can you give me a price on my cabinets?" And I was like, "Yeah, but I'm not," because I felt.
I
bad
know
for
a
her.
guy.
Yeah.
And then you give him like
give him somebody else's
give
name.
him somebody you really like.
Yes, really love.
Yeah, you
I've done
love
that
them.
before.
Yeah.
I pulled up at a house one day and I went to the wrong one, and the neighbor, I was like, "Is this that?" She's like, "No." I was like, "Oh, it's that one." She's like, "Good luck."
Yeah.
I was like, "Ooh, really? You're your next door neighbor?" And she just smiled at me. Sure enough, the lady was a piece of work.
Oh, boy.
She's like, "Well, the crown molding." I'm like,
Yeah.
"You want it installed?" She's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Well, we're a painter." She's like, "Well, that's stupid. You don't put it in." I'm like, "Lady, you called us to paint crown.
Oh,
No, I
man,
told you to install it." I'm
This
like,
sounds so familiar.
yeah.
Yeah.
I did. I was like, "I got a guy's card."
You
for
know what my favorite line is? And to be honest with you, I
Yeah.
am so lucky. I have the best clients ever,
Yeah.
but we do have a short-term rental portfolio
Yeah.
now, Airbnbs. So those get a little sketch sometimes.
Yes.
But my favorite line, and I've only had to let one client go.
Yeah.
And it is, "I think I'm going to fail to meet your
one.
expectations, but I know somebody
that.
who will
I'm gonna
not
use that. That
do
is
that."
a
You know what I
really
mean?
good one.
And I mean, it's something around about that way. And it's just like, I'll do I will make this as seamless as I can for the next guy. Like, here's all my things. Like, here's where we're at. You know, I don't want to leave you high and dry.
Do that a few times?
Literally only one time in Wildwood, and if she hears this,
Yeah.
it's been a few years.
Yeah.
It's okay. I follow my gut with stuff. I've learned that you can trust that, and sure enough, about a month, maybe not even that long, a couple weeks later, she had blasted a landscaping crew as
That's a big red
hard
flag.
as possible all over her socials, and I was like, okay, that could have been me. I'm so glad I bowed out when I did.
really mad. We did a deck and we went back and then I sanded it all off and we went back again and we could not make this lady happy. The husband was very nice. He was being cordial.
Right.
And in the midst of it, she was in a networking group with my wife, and in the midst of it, her and some of the other girls in the group, we were all talking. They're like, and they started telling me about all the other businesses in the group she blasted. And I was like, hold up, why did we bid this? Why didn't anyone tell? Because I didn't know her.
Yeah.
I just knew she was part of their group, so I gave her the bid, and I was livid because I'm like, listen, guys, that is your number one red flag.
That's right.
If they're blasting, like when I go on a bid and they're like, I hope this is better. Every contractor I work with is stupid. I'm like, I'm out.
We're literally like, well, I got somewhere to be. So
because you know it's they're going to be a problem.
Well, who's the common denominator?
Yes, and that's
it's
a
why
line I use all
people
the time.
literally crack me up on Instagram. I just read, or Facebook, I read somebody yesterday, and she's like, I don't even know the girl. I'm deleting my social media. There's just so much drama on here, and baby mama this, and I'm like, she's like, this is the third and I'm like, well, I think you're the common denominator. Anyway.
Yeah, no, for real. I'll watch people post things and then they get upset. And it's like the first day on the internet, like
correct.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a hilarious line.
I get upset. The only times I get upset, one night we were at the house and I had a bunch of comments pop up on a video for the martial arts school. I didn't know, but it kind of went semi-viral of one of my students, one of my girls hitting targets blindfolded. Okay. And it was a really hard thing to do, and it was a bunch of like fat dudes sitting on a couch like critiquing it, and it took everything I had to not lay into them, because I normally won't respond to that. I'll be like, what? I will respond to it, but I just once and I'm done. But I learned you can't, if you're going to put it out there publicly, people are going to say stupid stuff. Or
they will.
I blocked a guy recently, and I got to apologize to him the next tournament we're at. He kept putting laughy faces on all my stuff on the Academy's page. Well, I realized it's an older dude we do tournaments with. He loves us. He loves my students. He's a great dude. Yeah. I think he's just old enough that he didn't realize he's putting laughy faces. Oh. I don't think he meant to, because we laugh because that's
Is it the one with cry marks?
No, it's just you can like, you can love, you can put the laughy. Like he just kept putting those on.
Oh,
but he does it on everything, and I don't think he realizes what it is. Because I showed it to one of my teens. I'm like, hey, you know this guy? They're like, oh man, he's so, because he really does love. He is so cool. Yeah. And I'm like, he's the one doing this, right? Oh, he doesn't know.
It's the generation.
He doesn't get it because he's older. Yeah.
Because my mom, you know, like the emoji where it's like, it's the awkward smile. The She thought that was like a regular smile. Yeah. And so she would send like, and I'm like, no, that's the awkward, like. Yes. So she was doing that forever.
She didn't get it.
Let me show you a different emoji, Mom.
Yeah. We got and I think that happens sometimes. You just have to go with the flow on it, and I've been guilty of it. I'm horrible. I'm not one to be like, don't argue with people, because man, I've got some great responses on my reviews that are hilarious when someone does give me a bad review, because I take my businesses very personal.
Of course, but as you should.
Trusting your gut, though, I'll run into people that are having issues on job sites or with businesses in general, friends that have different things, and I'll be like, did you not see it? And they're like, yeah, I did. And I'm like, it's very hard, though. It takes a lot of confidence, though, when you get that to step away from it. Or like me, I'll get a red flag on a parent at the dojo, and I'm like, God, they're going to be a headache, but their kid's great. Yeah. And so sometimes people be like, why are you dealing with that crap? Because it can hurt your business. I'm like, I'll manage it because their kid really needs this martial arts class, and I believe what I do changes lives. Sure. So I'll do it. But with painting, I'm like, shit, screw your house. I'm out. Right. If I show up, and I've had a couple of them where I've told the office over the years, I'm like, I have a really bad feeling. And sure enough, they ended up in a lawsuit. We ended up having a really bad problem. Yeah. And, you just have to trust that sometimes. You never know what people are going through. You never know what's going on.
Yeah, that's right.
But with like what you're doing, you're in their house also, so it is a very personal act.
It is. Yeah. A lot of times I feel like a therapist.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure. You're there all week. You're gonna find out about when we're in their pain. You learn about their love life. You learn about the fights they had.
Their doctor's appointments. Their ailments. Their their relationship woes for sure. And that's all confident. Like it's.
It is what it is. It is what it is. It's part of the task. I get a giggle out of it sometimes because I'm like, and then I'll question myself when I like hire somebody for something. I'm like, did I say anything wildly inappropriate? Because these people just said it to me. Yeah.
No doubt. I'm sure it's the same being in their home painting and whatever. I don't know if you were ever part of your crew, but.
I did for years. I worked alongside. It's been the past couple years that I'm out because once we got to a certain size, it just, I was hindering us by being on the sites with them because I
Sure.
was constantly on my phone, or
Right.
I was stepping outside to hop on my computer.
And they're probably thinking, he's not even working.
And I told them at one point, I was like, all right, guys, we're going to restructure some things. I was like, and they were like, yeah, this is, you need to, you being here is because the customer's looking for me.
Sure.
But I'm outside trying to take care of another job, or I'm having
Right.
to leave, to where luckily I realized it very quickly. I didn't
Right.
like, you'll watch those people that like almost fight growing. I was
Yeah.
excited. I was
Oh,
like, sweet,
cool.
I
Very
got paint with
cool.
you guys. I'm
Yeah.
gonna run around. But there are times that it's hard. So
Yeah.
what are some like really cool projects that you've done? Like that you're just, I mean, obviously you're proud of all of them. What's some really
Right.
cool ones?
Let's see. I mean, I love my personal Airbnbs. I know that probably
Yeah.
is not what you want to hear. But they're the ones where I can do whatever I want and
Yeah,
stuff
yeah.
like that, right? So they cash flow nicely. I love them. I would say just recently getting into like homes of like professionals to where they let me do almost their entire space, and they're like, hey, can you freshen up this whole thing or whatever. I had I work with Katie and Stephen Masson, Brody Allen Exteriors is the company they have, and they had bought their home on the other side of O'Fallon. And she called me right in the beginning of the process. I'm
Yeah.
already finished with this project.
I just did some work for a couple of their reps the other day.
Did you?
Yep.
Yeah. But it was so awesome to work for her because she was literally like, this is what you do. Like, I am on board. Like, I'm like, hey, I know, we're going to splurge on these coffee tables because when somebody comes in the door, like, that's what they're going to be looking at. And like, it was just so seamless from start to finish. And like, it's the trust factor, right?
And that's what I was going to say, that trust, that them saying, you know what, here's
Right.
the reins. That's got
Her
to...
project reflects.
Yeah, that when I come into a unique home,
Yeah.
and they're like, what do you think on colors? I'm like, well, this is what's popping right now, but what do you think of this? And they give me a little bit of room.
Yeah.
I go overboard. I really do. Because
Yeah.
I enjoy it more. And I'm like, hey, why don't we do this? They'll be like, oh, I wouldn't have thought of that. Like,
Right.
It helps. Yeah. So that's amazing.
Yeah. So Katie, interviewing her, it was cool because I'm like, how do you want your home to feel? I ask everybody the question.
Yeah.
And she's like, I want it to feel elegant and like bright. And so, of course, I mean, Steven loved it too, but like, it is on the feminine side or whatever.
Yeah.
But I was like, I did pretty much exactly what I would have done in my own home. And so, man, that project went quickly and it looks amazing. So that one, gosh, I don't remember when I finished that, but it's funny. I had no idea all these roofing guys, all these exterior companies, there's so many of them, and I happen to be designing for a few.
I was gonna
I'm
say,
like,
that's
why
funny.
am I designing for all these roofers? I'm not even sure they get along, but
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
like this is crazy. So anyway, it's funny, and then I have one on the pipeline, and I was just down there yesterday. And again, this is still in proposal phases, but Soulard building, right?
Ooh.
Oh, I've been trying to get in Soulard for years for an
Yeah, some
Airbnb
cool stuff down there,
for
yeah.
my own, right? And I just haven't found a right fit, or like I can't buy a 20 unit, right?
Yeah, yeah.
This happens to be a 10 unit, and I got contacted or connected with my friend Phil White, and he's an amazing guy. So anyway, she actually, her passion is right in St. Charles County, single homeless moms, providing them like a place to live. So I think she has a portfolio of like 30 houses in St. Charles. Yeah, grew very quickly, and houses those ladies. So whatever, she bought a building in Soulard, 10 unit. They used to be Airbnbs. They need revamped. So I'm actually going to probably help her with her branding and her design of all those units. So excited.
awesome.
So yesterday I was there for 4 hours, looked at every unit with her team, walked that. And I think we already have like a vision that we're going to go with. She has the capital. She has the passion. I think she just needs me. So I'm excited.
That's awesome.
That's
And
what,
it's
yeah.
got to be nice when you find those ones that like it just fits.
Yeah.
It just clicks.
We
This is
literally
gonna
clicked
work.
on so many levels. Yeah.
Yeah,
We really did.
and that helps because that's what really builds a rapport. I found with the painting company, that's kind of what helped me. As I would meet with clients, it would click. I'd work for their families, and it
Yeah.
would just naturally and organically
Right.
grow.
Right.
But it's got to be nice when they give you the reins to really kind of let you go with it too.
It is.
I could see with what you do, like it being very frustrating if you find stuff like I'll have clients reach out, whether we'll get scheduling for martial arts. I'll have people reach out about a trial we're doing.
Yeah.
Can you come in on Thursday? No, we can't make it. We have this. Well, we've got a spot Saturday. I know we got a lot going on Saturday. Well, I have a private spot on Friday night. Fridays just really don't work. But then I get irritated because I'm like, all right, listen, I only have so many spots. I'm really trying to work with you here, but you got to work with me. I could see that with you. Like, okay, if you find somebody, you're like, this is a centerpiece that you need. And they're like, because some people are so wishy-washy. Like, I can see that really, and it sounds stupid, but killing the vibe. Like, really killing your creative
I'm like,
mojo.
look at you. You are the definition of bold. You have tattoos from head to toe. Nothing about you is ordinary. Why are you picking this farmhouse table? Adamant about this?
Yeah.
Let me give you a home that reflects you because you're badass, and I can give you a badass home. Like, just trust me.
Yeah.
However, like, I'm pretty, I give them room to question, to earn my trust, because what really winds up happening is they'll hire me sometimes for especially if they're a cold call or whatever you call it, cold lead.
I'm Stu. I'm the founder and president of the Guild Men's Fellowship. As a first responder, I know firsthand what it's like to pour into your community and lose sight of personal aspirations. And that's why I founded the Guild. The Guild is a nonprofit that offers personal development programs to first responders and veterans since 2019. We offer our services completely free of charge. Peer support, critical incident stress debriefing, our flagship program, Stations Immersion Camp, and one-on-one coaching is accessible by people who apply and are approved through our website. Like all nonprofits, we need people and funding. And one of the ways that we've come up with to solve the funding issue is to take our curriculum and put it into modules that are teachable to your organization or agency. In this way, we can further your mission by putting your investment to work for people who have served. If you're interested in finding more information or applying for our services, or if you're interested in helping by booking us for trainings, keynotes, or consulting, visit our website, guildfellowship.com.
They'll hire me for something small. Then I'll gain their trust in that project. I will go above and beyond, and then before you know it, their whole home is following.
I try to explain that to painters all the time too.
Yeah.
Like, I have had so many $1 million
That's why I take small
clients.
jobs. I'll take any job, really.
Hire me to do a bathroom.
If you have a budget, I'll do it.
And then as you're finishing the bathroom, you find out they have 30 Airbnbs. And
Correct. That's
it's
right.
An interview.
That's
and
right.
that
It
was
is an
one
interview.
thing when we really grew and scaled. I struggled to still do those little jobs because we were so busy.
I'll even pick out a paint color. That.
You do it because it's a foot in the door.
That's
it's
right.
a way to meet a new client. You never know what their needs are going to be.
Like, where can I add value? Like, I will help you in the little things. You know what I mean? So it's paid off.
Done so many little things like that. Go over to touch up a door because the dog scratched it, and then on the way out, I went to look at brick for a lady one time to give an opinion. And before I left, I found out she flipped homes. She had a ton of properties. I ended up, I figured it up. I did $500,000 worth of work for her in the following 2 years after that. And it was, I did all the math one time for it, and it was wild off of just another great client said, hey, can you look at something for a customer for me?
Right.
She's kind of on the fence, and the guy that she had there kept saying, listen, honey, so he got fired. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, I could see that. So I went over, and it was a great relationship.
Yeah.
Because I did the little things.
Exactly. Actually, it reminds me, and I'd like to say I coined this phrase. I probably did not. I'm sure I heard it somewhere, but I've never forgotten it. And it is like the right connections are like the wind at your back.
Ooh.
And so it's like, or like the right thing. It truly is true because, and that is anything, like the right partner, the right network, the right information, and you put those all into place, and it's literally like, oopsie. It's literally like putting you in that direction. Like, it's cool.
It truly is. I don't regret any of my tattoos, and I figured out how to spin this one so I don't regret it, but I have self-made on my knuckles.
Oh, yeah.
Because I push myself, I get myself out of bed, but really and truthfully, it is the team, because if those other people weren't there, it wouldn't give you that motivation. There's people around you. There's all that, like you said, the right things.
Well, with my projects, it's nothing but a vision until I have my carpenter,
Yep.
my installers. Like
Yeah.
it's literally just a vision in my head and without my team, So yeah.
Completely. And getting that vision out there too, which has got to be, is a talent in its own,
Yeah.
is to communicate that vision to others.
Right.
Because like you said, it's not, you've got to communicate that vision to so many.
Right.
I think you see that a lot of times with DIYers trying to do things. It's like you
Right.
almost nailed it, but not
Right.
quite.
And that's why I don't do free consultations, because there are a lot of, there's a few DIYers. I don't get whole lot anymore, but like, when you're an artist, like your information, your intellectual,
They're picking your brain.
Yeah, like picking my brain isn't free. Consulting is my business.
Yes.
Like consulting is picking my brain.
Yes. No, for
and
sure.
and so I learned very early on when I was, starting like my firm, that like, hey, what happens is you pick my brain and then you try to DIY it.
Yes, that's exactly what.
Yeah. So anyway.
No, I would
Side note.
get that a lot with business owners wanting to kind of take off. They'd seen a lot of scaling, a lot of stuff I done. It's like, oh, hey, let's grab some lunch. And it's
Right.
like I get an $8 hamburger and they get
Right. Which I'm happy to help the next
Yes.
guy 100%.
Me
and
too.
I'm super.
in
Yeah.
a way though, but there
Correct.
is a point where you have to be like, okay, this is a consult,
That's right.
like there's some young guys that cleaned the windows on my martial arts school recently. Did a great job, super detailed. Actually worked out really cool. They were on the podcast 2 weeks ago. I
cool.
told them, I was like, why don't you guys come in and do it? They're one's 17, one's 18.
Oh, cool.
Starting their own business.
Yeah.
And it was really funny because actually Joey at Owns Place, his sister, who she's on in a couple weeks, her daughter dated one of them. Like he knew him, so then Joey
Okay.
was like, "Man, let me help you guys with your social." Like, it
Yeah.
was cool that we were both able to help these young kids.
Right.
But when you got people that aren't going to do anything with it, that are just those professional question askers,
Right. That's
that
right.
always
They're
have
just
an excuse,
stale and stagnant.
and they're going to just waste your time.
It's like their feet are glued to the floor, and they have been for a
Yes.
decade.
There's a book called Tools of Titans by Tim Ferriss, and the biggest, it was like snippets from all of his podcasts over the years and the lessons he learned, and one of the biggest lessons was to say no, because
Yeah.
people will just take
That's right.
take unless you draw that line
Yeah,
in the sand.
you're right. And the serious ones will see the value.
They will, and they'll consult, and even if they don't end up signing, you got paid for your time. It
Right.
wasn't a waste, because people will waste it.
Right.
So what is your ideal client? Like, what is like your dreamy client?
Yeah, I get asked this a lot.
Well, yeah, any networking
My
thing, that's
ideal
a cliche.
client is that, I mean, it sounds silly, but you do have to have a budget. Like design is a luxury service.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
I'm
it
not
has to be a
saying
budget.
I'm
Yes,
not
no.
saying I'm like the best designer in the world. You know what I mean? But if you come to me and you're a budget client, you can afford designer. So anyway.
No, there's
I
nothing
feel
wrong
silly
with it. I
saying-
have people call me about paint jobs. Like, I want the whole house painted, blah, blah, blah. And then
Yeah.
you give them the bill, and they're like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And it's like, you wanted a full-time crew of adults there for 3 weeks. Yeah, that's an expensive paint job. Like,
Right.
It's or I'll have people call for a bid, and we don't have this anymore. My office got better about it, but I'd show up and it was a trailer.
Yeah.
You don't have money to pay me to paint. No offense to anybody that lives in a trailer, but you
right,
do
that's
not
right.
have expendable income
Exactly.
at
My
that
first
point.
flip was a trailer. I made $30,000.
There you
Boom.
go.
So
But
it's
most
like
people with those do not have expendable income for
Right,
stuff like that.
right.
And or I'll show up, the yard's not mowed, the house looks like it's falling down. It's
Right.
like, this is not a good client.
no, right.
So-
So I would say my ideal client is the one that knows the difference, like I said, between beer and champagne.
Yes.
And they know where they are on that spectrum. And if they don't, then they believe me when I tell them where they are at
Yeah.
on that spectrum.
Yeah.
Because guys, like we all know we can't go to Walmart and get groceries for $150 anymore.
Yeah,
Like,
no.
the new, 15,000 is the new 10,000. You know what I'm saying? Like stuff is
20,000
more
is not the
expensive
new-
now.
yeah, it's
Like
everything.
we're not remodeling kitchens for 20 grand anymore.
Yes.
Like, or 30.
No.
Like,
No.
I walk in these kitchens and people will be like, oh yeah, well, my budget's 30. And I said, well, I can get you white shaker cabinets for 30.
Just the
maybe.
cabinets.
Maybe.
Just the cabinets, maybe.
Correct.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So it's like, and that's not a big blueprint. That's a small kitchen. So
Yes.
just somebody that has realistic expectations obviously is my ideal client, but trust and flexibility, man. I am actually at an ideal client right now, and it's just a kitchen refresh. This is like, I think, my 4th project for Nancy. Just, hey, Gina, like, I trust you with the selections. I trust you with the process. You know, ask me questions. Absolutely, Nancy. I work for you. Like, ask all the questions you want. But if there is like an issue that comes up, she's super flexible until I figure out a solution, and then we keep going, right?
For sure.
So probably that's my client. Trust somebody that trusts the process, trusts me, trusts my referrals.
I would say that's the biggest thing over anything.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously they have to have the budget. That's kind of a
sure.
precursor. There's no
Right.
There's no ifs,
And
ands,
most
or
of mine
buts.
do
Yes.
nowadays. Like in the
Yes.
beginning when I was getting started,
Well,
you know.
but some
But
people
since
just
the
don't-
economy shift, people don't realize. It's like, okay, does that bag of Cheetos still cost $1.99? No, it costs $3.89.
Yeah.
So does home
I've
improvement.
had so many clients reach out that had a 3-year-old bid, and I
Right.
call them and I'm like, just want to let you
Right.
know, I've got to come out and rebid it.
Right.
My materials have doubled since we spoke last.
Correct.
My cost of everything has went through the roof.
Right.
I'm not a brand new company, so my guys are not making 18 an hour; they're making 35.
Correct.
So we've got to.
Right.
There's some big changes.
Right.
And a lot of people, I know they feel like I price gouged, but I explained to them everything's went up. Your bid is going to go up drastically, like what it was bid
Right.
at, and everything has. Like when cabinets, we painted hundreds and hundreds of cabinets.
Right.
I reach out. We did a house in Innsbruck. And the cabinets.
Oh, yeah, I love Innsbruck. A
Were
lot of my stuff's there.
They did a remodel, and just because the old timer was remodeling it, he was a hoot because he'd been doing it for a long time, and just the cabinets was $76,000.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just the cabinets, and I don't think people outside of these industries really fathom what this stuff costs.
No, they don't. Or like I'll walk into a home and they're wanting, this happened out in Chesterfield not too long ago. The guy did not wind up signing with me, but I am kind of glad.
Yeah.
You know, hindsight, because I do know a couple men that have worked for him or whatever since.
Sometimes you find that out down the road. You're like, woo!
Yeah, I did. Yeah. Great guy. You know, he just wanted to import all of his furnishings from China on a what the heck, over the seas.
Yeah.
Help me out. Container
shipment.
A container
Yep.
shipment. Fine. That's totally fine. Anyways, he was talking about, you know, white shaker cabinets. He was just adamant about it. And I'm like, you know, man, I just would not do that in this price point of this home. Like, you know, like I'm not a realtor, but I do know a thing or two. And
Yeah.
we can call 5 right now that sell these.
They're going to
these
tell you,
homes.
yeah.
And they're going to tell you, it doesn't matter if you found this in a show home across the way. That's not what I would recommend. But he wanted his kitchen to be remodeled at a certain number. And I'm like, well, you're literally devaluing your home. Why would you remodel it and make a remodel is supposed to increase the value?
Customers do their remodel themselves, and they're like, this house is going to be worth 1.2. And I'm like, but you bought your wood floor at Costco.
Right. Or hoods.
And I'm like, yeah,
or cabinets to go.
That's really messing things up. And I'm just there to paint, so I shut up. And I've had a few of them that I'm like,
I'm not a brand snob either.
yeah,
but
no. But there's a level. If you are going to have a house, that's been the wildest thing with the influxes. I painted houses that have $1 million sticker on them that I'm like, this is a $600,000 house a couple years ago. This is not a $1 million house.
That's right.
Like the fine finishes, the lavish things that $1
It's all in
million
the
house in
finishes.
St. Louis got you isn't really there anymore. You know, I paint $700,000 houses that are just big boxes sometimes, and I'm blown away with it because I'll paint that same builder builds apartments, and it's the same cabinet company that makes both, and I'm like, but this is almost an $800,000 house. Like, that's insane.
I know. But anyway, it is cool. Like, I feel like I do have a little bit of head up of other. Well, this is what I've been told, anyways. Like, I know designers kind of get a bad rep sometimes because contractors and stuff, they know us as like, we know all the pretty things and we're recommending things that really aren't feasible.
Yeah.
And like, we have this dream,
There's always
but we're
a
not
clash
really
there.
in reality. But I tell you what, like, I don't have that interaction with the contractors. It probably has to do with my dad being a construction, owning a small business his whole life. He raised me like a boy.
Yeah.
My husband John will totally own this. He has surpassed my knowledge now, but at the beginning of our marriage, when we were flipping houses, you know, I did teach him what he knew. You know what I mean?
That gets you respect too from the cruise.
Yeah, like
As a female,
I
that's a
understand
big thing.
plumbing, I understand electricity, I understand weight bearing walls, I understand. I know I don't have a degree, but in that field.
Yeah.
But like I know all those things, and then also I understand ARV, like I understand ROI because
Yes.
we have flipped homes.
Yes.
Like I know where to put your money and what the return is going to be and what we can kind of like splurge on and what we can dupe.
I
You know what I'm
explain
saying?
that to homeowners all the time. They'll call us when they're selling something. They'll be like, I think I want to paint the whole house. I'm like, you know what? It's not looking that bad. I said,
Yeah.
just talk to your agent because
Right.
I'm thinking the $5,000 that you're
Yep.
going to pay me to paint your house.
Yep.
You're not going to get that back.
Right.
You know, but as a female in that business, it's you're going to clash anyways. But having that experience, a friend of mine owns Alia Homes. Katie's been on the podcast a couple
cool.
times. Good friend. She comes up here with us. And we've talked in depth about her being a female running a home builder company.
Right.
And being in that industry, and she's in a great spot because a lot of the subs have worked for her dad for 30 years.
Oh, very
and
cool.
they've known her since she was a little girl.
Yeah.
So they take really good care of her. But
Right.
her understanding and her experience with it too allows her to have a different rapport on those sites.
Sure. Absolutely.
Because it is. I've worked on those
Yeah.
sites for years, and it's like, oh, here comes the realtor. You know, let's see what she's got to say. You know, oh, here comes the designer. Got bust her
Right.
balls. You know, she doesn't even know how to put paint on a wall. She's
Yeah.
blah 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 blah. I've heard all the stuff. I've been around it.
all
my whole
of
life.
my flips were sweat equity until recently.
Yeah, and
all
see,
of
that,
them.
That helps you build a lot of that trust
I
then
hope.
with your trades. It
yeah.
does.
Yeah. I think it does for sure.
It means a lot to them when you're in a trade and you're out there working and the person actually understands what value you bring to the
Right.
project and how it works. It does mean a lot.
Yeah. So full circle, I think that's my ideal client. Somebody that is passionate about things looking good, but don't know how to get it there.
Yeah, and
And
wants
that's
to
what I
trust
get.
you.
I get a lot of like
Does it
a
help
lot
you
of that.
when they have a little bit of a vision like for it? If they maybe can help point you in a little bit of a direction, or do you prefer
It doesn't matter
Yeah.
either way. It is easier if they give me inspo pictures because
okay,
I don't want to
something-
waste their time or mine.
Yes.
Some of my clients have very little time.
Yeah, it helps if they can give you a
Yeah,
little bit
just
of
push me in some way. Like, am I
right or left? Yeah.
all right? Like, am I going to build you the? And plus, if we're not completely like, say, if I'm just furnishing, like I can't. You know, it's got to flow. So,
Yeah.
I'm not going to bring you in all furniture mid-century if your home is extremely traditional. Like,
Yeah.
so we've got to at least talk through all that stuff. So,
Well, I kind of understand where their hobbies are, what a little bit about them. So, what is
Right.
the best way as we kind of get to the end here for like someone to find you?
oh, good
Oh,
grief!
excuse me.
Someone to find me.
Yeah,
I mean,
find you on social if they want to find your business,
Oh,
website, whatever. If a
sure.
client wanted to reach out and book you.
yeah. So I would probably just send them to my website, lewisandokhomes.com, or I'm on Instagram and Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think a lot of it's weird. Like, a lot of people do find me from Facebook, like out and about. I don't know
Yeah.
what that is going on lately, but
Nah,
it's
people-
starting to creep me out.
Yeah, people recognize you. I get it too with the podcast.
Yeah.
I've went places and they're like, oh,
Yeah.
podcast. Like people just recognize.
Yeah.
It's odd though.
Yeah.
Like you ever think about that? Like people that really are famous. You're
Yeah.
like,
How do they do it? I'm not
Yeah.
famous. I'm not famous at all.
no,
I'm just
but when
like,
you have people recognize you that you've never met through
Right.
social and stuff, it is it's odd the first.
right. And you're like, I thought you were like kind of giving me energy from across the room, but
Yes,
like, and
yes.
then they come up and talk to you, and then they ask you about your last social media post, and I'm like confused as all get out because I'm like, okay, you're creeping me out.
Well, and people don't always aren't very good too about being like, hey, so and so, I seen your
yes,
social media.
like
I'll
there's
have
no
people come up
there's
to
no
start-
introduction.
Oh, people just come
It's
up
just
start
like,
chatting with
are
me
you
about
just following me
podcasts.
around,
Yes.
or like, you know, like,
Well-
did you follow me from the parking lot, or?
With the podcasting too, because it's a conversation of two people, but someone listening kind of joins in themselves. Because I listen to a lot of podcasts, I find that you connect with it in a different way because I've
yeah.
had so many people, and I'm used to it now. But when it first started happening, I'd text Joey, be like, dude, it's so fucking weird. Because I
Yeah.
would have just people randomly walk up, be like, oh man, I love listening to you and Emil
Yeah.
or whoever. And they just start talking to you, and you're like, and you are.
Well,
like,
they're probably
and they're just excited. They're
excited,
customers or
and
whatever.
they're probably kind of attached to you in a way.
Well, and they feel
I know that
like they
seems-
already know you. Like
Right.
I feel from listening to some of the ones that I listen to religiously.
Yeah.
I would have no problem having a conversation
Yeah.
with that person because
Yeah.
I've already had so many,
Right.
not
Right.
technical. It's very weird.
I take it as a compliment, but
Yes.
it's definitely like, when my kids are with me, they're like, "Who was that, Mom?" I'm like, "I don't know."
Yeah, I'll get the same thing. Somebody who's been at a karate tournament or whatever, because so much of what I do, and I'm like yourself, I post a lot on social.
Yeah.
You learn to flow with it, but what's weird is when you can tell they know, blah blah blah. You can feel it, and then they come up. You're like, "Oh shit, who is this?" Like,
Yeah,
and then your
right.
brain's going, because I'm the type, and I bet you're the type too, that I see a lot of faces, but I don't always remember them.
Well, I'm better with faces
you're
than
like,
names.
You're like,
Yeah.
crap, who are you? I know the face.
Should I know you?
Yeah, should I?
And that is
yes.
what, like, and then I feel rude, and then I'm like, oh, maybe I did meet you. I used to teach yoga, right? I'm like,
Yes,
because I'm like, maybe
yep.
you were in my class at one time, like, so it is the world of social media in which we live now. It's neat, actually.
It is very interesting, and I
Yeah.
think we're seeing a lot of things from it. I personally don't think it'll be around. I think in our lifetime we'll see the end of it.
Yeah, I kind of hope so.
I do too.
Yeah.
Well, I do and I don't, because
I
it's
agree.
a great advertising tool.
Totally.
And without social media, I don't know where I put the podcast. But I agree with you. I do.
Yeah.
But so your website, social media on Facebook, Instagram, you're both on those. There's easy
Yep.
ways to contact you and reach out for your services. So
Yeah, that would be great.
well, I
This was
appreciate
fun.
you coming on and chatting. This was
Yeah.
a blast. And for those of you out there, like, share, subscribe, check out everything Gina's got going. Make sure to like and support. And you know where to find everything going on is right here. So thank you guys.